All right, everybody. So our first review of the day is going to be for One Piece season two. We did a review of the first season of the show there, which is on Netflix. Here, this is the action adaptation of the big anime. Now the highest selling comic book ever. I think it beat out Superman for the most sales there ever, the most sold copies of Superman there. So yeah, this is humongous. It's taken over. One Piece is, I guess, the new Dragon Ball Z, I guess, as far as being the hugest anime out there right now. And they're actually going to do a remake of the anime. They're going to like redo kind of like a new version of it. They're redoing that with it there as well. But yeah, so this is the live action adaptation for which is on Netflix right now. And like I said, Mike also joined me for the review of season one, which people can check out on the channel. Just type in the afternoon tune and you'll just be able to find that as well there. What's going on in this season two of One Piece there? Well, in this season, you got things going on like they're being hunted by this evil group there. They're designated by numbers there. And what's the name of the evil group again? It's
Baroque Works.
Baroque Works there. There will we, and then also this the big thing about the seasons, we're seeing some introduction of some big characters from the anime, like Chopper, who's in this. People wondering how they were going to do that. We're also seeing Nico Robin in this as well, which is a big character also from the anime. They're being hunted by them there. And so we see some additions to the crew get added there, and then also on top of that, they have some kind of I wouldn't say a straggler, but a new member there temporarily on the team, Princess from a town called Alabaster this like island there, and she's in trouble because that's what the One Piece crew does is they go around on these different adventures encountering people who are in trouble, and they kind of get worked into it and they go ahead and save them, always, they're the good-hearted pirates, you know what I mean? Just like how most media portrays pirates. It's like at the end of the day, it's like, oh, they got a heart of gold, they're gonna do the right thing most of the time. So she's kind of a new addition there. The princess in this here, let me see if I can pull up the actress's name here, who plays the princess. But I know there was some controversy with that as far as what that goes, as always. But Mike, what were your thoughts here on season two of One Piece?
Kind of the same of season one. I think it's cute. I think it's like very charming in a lot of respects. I think this is also like a great kind of like almost like a bridge version of a lot of it. And I do want to give it credit of like I really like how it translated a lot of aspects from the anime and the manga. I do think though it does hit its limitations of just like because One Piece would be one of the hardest things to adapt into live action. But I do want to give it credit. Like I think this is overall good and like a fun time. I just think it's like it's gonna be hard to. And to be fair, I don't think it's trying to replace it. I just think it's like here's a fun addition of that. But overall, I say this was a solid experience.
Mm.
And the thing is, like, I don't know anything about One Piece, but the thing I do appreciate about the show is that how it embraces the zaniness of the One Piece world. I really appreciate how it just doesn't shy away from like how crazy these characters and these situations are. So kudos to them on that.
Yeah, I think that might have been maybe a weird reason why it could have been adapted better because like Oda has a very like Western sense of humor and Western designs of like he was inspired by stuff like Vicky the Viking a lot growing up and like a lot of Disney designs. You can see that in his work. Tom and Jerry was also an influence. And there is also obviously like a show that influence with One Piece, but it's a lot more multicultural than like some other anime, which is why I think it's probably a better adaptation than what we get for the most part because it's a bit easier to navigate. Also the fact that Oda was like a creative consultant on this and was like everything get his approval basically.
Nice. And didn't this season they switched showrunners, right? Because the other showrunner from season one dropped out there, and then they switched it, right? If I remember correctly, leading up to the season. Because the one who's show running this now is a guy named Matt Owens there. And I believe there was like some big kind of fallout there a little bit, and somebody else had to come in.
Yeah, there was like a arguments behind the scenes from what I recall.
Okay.
Mm.
But let me know if anybody that's incorrect there. But yeah, with this season, I will say that with this show, I do admire how it just from what is in the anime, they adapt it into the show as best they can. They don't shy away from the fact that okay, this character's got fucked up hair, or this character, you know what I mean, has these super exaggerated clothing or anything like that. They just adapt it as best they can from the anime, and even if it is looks ridiculous, they do that, so they don't shy away from that. And I wish maybe even some comic book movies took note of that, of like, hey, whatever, if it's in this, you know what I mean, they're kind of busy drawing it more to like, okay, we got to make it more in the real world. In this, they have more fun just playing in this kind of fantasy kind of element of things there.
I would argue the more cartoonish hair we see in this that gets adapted probably works better than like the standard anime hair, because like I'd say the main cast hair doesn't have like great wigs and great looks for the most part of like the Zoro hair, the Sanji hair, the Nami hair. But for like the Baroque works hair and like for like the weird like Mr. Three's hair from what we've seen of like I think they really nailed the more like weirder aspects with that, because it's like okay, we're like it's almost like playing more with like a prop, and you can't really get someone to look exactly like a lot of One Piece characters because One Piece characters have so cartoony designs. But
Right.
I think they're like, okay, this is our limitations, we know that. And when it comes to a character like Mr. Three, I think he works really well in live action. Same with like Buggy. Of course, there are going to be limitations to a degree. I think you kind of see that with the main cast, unfortunately. But I'd say this is going to sound a bit demeaning, but I mean this like in a positive way. It's kind of like an amusement park. I was just like, that's kind of fun to look at, or kind of like when you see like those images of like Universal Studios of like, here's How to Train Your Dragon, like
Mm-hmm.
costume people, like mascots. It's just like, yeah. It's like you can't really get an exact lookalike like that, but for what you did, that's really cool.
Yeah. And Mr. Three in this is played by David Delsmelchin. He's one of the other additions there. And of course, he's always good. I like him in a lot of stuff he's in. People might know him. He's Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad movie there. So yeah, he works always really well there.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you think about a lot of the newer additions to the cast here that you have in this, where you have like Robin, you have Chopper that comes in here. What did you think about that?
I think a lot of the older and like side characters work more. I think Robin works pretty well. And I do think for what we see of like the antagonists and like just the weirdo characters we meet every once in a while, I think they work really well, especially when they're like played by older actors of like actors in their 50s, with like some of the antagonists we do see.
Yeah. And the actress who plays there is Lyra Abova there, who is Russian.
She was like a model, I think.
Okay, I can believe that for sure. And a lot of her look is stunning. I mean, she looks really good there. I mean, people talking about. I mean, when this show season 2 hit, I mostly just saw people talk about how hot the cast was.
Yeah.
I mean, from everybody up and down, people were all saying like, "Man, this cast is very hot."
It's interesting seeing some of the translations of outfits the characters wear, because she wears like a latex like power suit. I'm like, that's not what I thought that was. It's just
yeah, so a lot of great looks for her that she kind of has in it. And she's kind of one of the, I guess, the right hand man of the main Baroque's works, like the leader of it.
Yeah, they're in cahoots essentially.
Yeah, so she kind of has the right hand. She goes by Miss Sunday.
Yeah, the women are named after holidays and weekends, while the men are named after numbers.
Yeah, so you kind of have that element of it there. And then the big bad of the guy who's like the head of the Baroque works or controlling them is played by Joe Manganiello, who's Crocodile there. And you don't see much of him. We're, I guess, presumably going to see more of him in the later season there, but he's just kind of a figure. You hear his voice and you don't really see much of him until the end of the series. And which arc of the anime is this adapting?
This does mix a few things, kind of like the previous season. It mostly mixes kind of the start of the Baroque works arc, as well as like they're still in the
Alabasters.
Yeah, well, they're not in Alabasta yet, but they're in the area. They're in the Rookie era, basically. of where like there's a bunch of mixing stuff, and kind of like season one, how they kind of like put some stuff a bit forward and stuff a bit later. I think for the most part, it's pretty successful story wise. It is very much an abridged version. You won't get all the details and like all the lore. But it's like if you did that, you would these actors would be on set for like 2 years. Just
Well, to be fair, I kind of feel like that's, given how long the source material truly is,
yeah.
you kind of have to abridge it. Sort of like how most comic book movies will like remix elements from like different eras of like whatever superhero they're adapting. So I kind of think this is just what One Piece is doing.
Yeah, Nico Robin is introduced a bit sooner than usual, but it's also like so many people who are going to watch this are going to know Nico Robin already.
Mm.
And Brooke is also introduced as a human first, which is cool. He's the skeleton man. That's another character. It's like, how do you adapt that into live action? Just
Yeah. Well, I mean, they already adapted Chopper, Chopper in it is the talking reindeer.
yeah,
That they and people wonder like, do you have the budget to actually do that? Like, how are you going to make that work?
looks pretty solid.
I think for the most part, I mean, for what it is, it looks pretty decent there. And the voice they have for Chopper, let me pull up her name. It's the woman that was in Superman.
Yeah.
There she was.
Lois?
No.
No, it's the one who with the blonde hair.
Oh,
Eve,
okay.
not Eve. Is it Eve?
No, not Eve. Not Eve. Tesfaye.
Oh, I remember the
Cat Grant.
kitty. Yeah, cat.
Cat.
Oh,
Grant, yeah.
okay.
Malika
Okay.
Hoover. Isn't it? So she's the voice as
Gorgeous.
Chopper. And she, I mean, how do you think she did as the voice of Chopper there?
I think she did a pretty good job. Chopper does have one of those anime voices where he's usually voiced by a girl.
And he gets into it like later because this is 8 episodes. He doesn't come into like the latter part of the season there. And because there's something happens with Nami where she gets really sick, and then so they have to take her to a doctor. So they're trying to find a doctor there.
Yeah.
And then Korea, who at first people, I think Jamie Lee Curtis kind of sort of in a way campaigned for that role of Kura. Like she's this crazy kind of doctor that lives like way on top of a mountain there. Who this is played by Katie Seagal. There, people might know Katie Seagal. I mean, that show Sons of Anarchy. She was in, of course, Married with Children. So she was in that as well.
And Leela from Futurama.
That's the voice of Leah from Futurama there as well. But this was a character that a lot of people go like, because Jamie Lee Curtis apparently is a huge fan of One Piece and everything like that. And you know what I mean? She was like, oh, if I was in the show, I would love to play this person. But it ended up going to Katie Seagal there, who I think she does a fun job. I think she really worked really well there. You know what I mean? I've seen the anime here and there, so I think I sort of remember the character there. How did you think they did to adapt to that character in case?
Pretty good. She's not in it a ton. She's pretty like she's kind of a side character. Like she appears like she mostly makes cameos after her the arc she's in for the most part. But for what she does, I think it's a really good casting.
Yeah. So yeah, like, you had that there. You know what I mean? The older chick who never gave up that heavy metal lifestyle, man. She's still rocking it, man. Still the biker babe, man. She's still doing it there. So that kind of works there. And when they told that story of Chopper and you give his backstory and everything like that, I mean, I gotta admit, I got emotional. I got like really kind of emotional there. You know, I was like, wow, this is kind of tragic there. When you learn kind of what happened to him, and you know, he had this other mentor as well there. That figure, what was his name again? It was
Hikuro, I think.
Hikuro.
Yeah.
Who was like the guy who's gonna help him teach him medicine and to be a doctor, and what happened there. Like that kind of got me, I gotta admit. And that really worked. Yeah. So the to me, I think the latter part of the season is better than the first part of it. I really was more into that. Do you think? And it's are you good with the 8 episodes, or you think it should be maybe 10? Or
I think it's good with 8 episodes for what it is.
okay. And
the standardized Netflix season of 8 episodes strikes again, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, Sterling K. Brown also, he put out something really great there about why they're doing the whole 8-10 episodes now. You've seen streaming. He made a good point about that. But yeah, and this is the voice here of Chopper that you have. So this was the woman from Superman here, who was Cat Grant. There with that. Not so good. I don't think we with that, but you know what I mean. Like clearly, I mean, you know, I thought maybe she was going undercover or something like that. Maybe she, had like a story where she had to go undercover. But I think also another great thing about this One Piece show is that the chemistry between the cast, I think, works really well. Between the main crew of like the Straw Hats, between Luffy and Zoro and Nami and Usopp, and everybody there, Sanji, I think that works really well. You could tell there's like a good camaraderie and friendship that translates off screen and then on screen and off screen. I think that kind of really works really well. I think that's one also the great things about the show. That's how they do that. And you mentioned, yeah, I mean, some of the look there, like Nami, that wig is very bad. You have Emily Rudd there, I think, who's Nami as well. And then as far as like arcs go, like, how the characters evolving and changing from this season, I don't think there's too much of that here.
Most is Usopp, really.
Yeah, the most is Usopp, because Usopp, he's kind of a coward there, so he's trying to learn to be more brave and how to kind of be more useful in these type of situations. So you have that. Luffy's still driven by the One Piece. He still wants to get there to go to the Grand Line and everything like that. Zoro, his big thing is he just wants a new sword. He has to get a new sword and everything like that. So he does run into somebody that reminded him, that's like a potential love interest that reminded him of a girl he knew back in the day.
Helena, yeah.
Who also is like very big into swords and everything like that. She's, I guess, a sword sexual too. So she's really big into that. And then that introduces like that aspect of like the Marines, which are like the world kind of, they're the enforcers of the world government. And you have a new character that gets introduced from the Marines called Captain Smoker, who has a devil fruit. And the devil fruits are basically how people have powers in this world. And you consume that, and then you get a special ability. And then we see with Captain Smoker, like he has one of those. He's one of the people hunting down Straw Hats because they all have big bounties on their heads. Mm-hmm. And so, is that going to go anywhere really important, like for the next season, like Captain Smoker? And
Smoker is very important for the Alabasta arc, as well as like commentary on the world government and Marines as a whole and how they operate. He doesn't get as, he's still an important character in the post time skip, but like pre time skip is probably where he's at his most important, and this is probably going to be like one of the more like he's definitely more of like a morally gray character of like he'll try and do the right thing, but like but he will also question the government to a degree.
Okay. Does Garp at all question the government or not?
Garp has a lot of conflict, but like he's definitely he's more on the side of the government. The most he'll do occasionally is like he won't intervene, but
okay. Who we do see that character return, who's the grandfather of Luffy, we see him return. And then also another character that they kind of tease in it is Goldie Roger's son there, who's the, I guess you could say, adoptive brother of Luffy there, Ace there. You do have that there. I don't know if they've already casted that character or not.
Yeah, they did. I think it's the Cobra Kai kid, the Blue Beetle kid.
Oh, him. Oh, they did. Oh, yeah, I did remember hear about that. Okay, he should work really well. I think he should be pretty good there. They do look like they kind of could be related, like the guy who plays Luffy and the guy who plays they call him.
I like that guy too.
Yeah, so he'll work there. So yeah, I mean that's kind of one of my criticisms of the show. Is just like I feel like there isn't really much of an arc for a lot of these characters now coming into season 2. They're the Straw Hat crew. You know what I mean? Like I said, Zoro, the biggest thing with him is the new sword thing, and then he also just stands around. He's cool Asian guy. You know what I mean? He's kind of like,
I think a lot of the deadpan comedy from the like series like doesn't get adapted in here. That kind of hurts it to a degree. And some of it, I do wonder if it's like an acting thing, because I do kind of hate to say it, I do think my main issue with this show is the main cast. I love their enthusiasm, and I think some of them really work. I do think there's scenes where they have like great chemistry together, but part of it is because they are also so young. But it's like I think it's very tough to kind of translate this character into live action like this with this plot, and a lot of their kind of performances kind of remind me of kind of cosplay performances to a degree. I've seen this guy like at a comic convention.
Oh, okay. You just think it's. I mean, you think you're saying their acting's not really that up to par? Or you think it's?
Just maybe, but I think it's also like a lot of them are so young, especially the main guy Inaka. He's like 22.
Yeah, but he's like perfect as Luffy though.
No,
Everything I've
I
seen
don't
of
think he
him.
is. I don't think he is at all. But I think I love again. Like I think he has the youth, and I think he has the enthusiasm. But I think there's a lot of small stuff that kind of gets like left behind, and I think again, like is a performance thing. It kind of reminds me of like when we have someone who does like an idea of like sitcom acting, like in the past versus sitcom acting now. I was like, there's a huge difference in like the subtleties and like how you're able to sell certain like lines and like just the body language. I think his body language is far too like again, there's a lot of deadpan humor with Luffy that kind of gets like left behind. I think kind of misses it. And like it's you have a very difficult task because like Luffy in the original manga is like that's created by like one guy who's an incredibly skilled like illustrator. And then the anime has like a ton of like animators and and like a voice actor like doing great job on that. But it's like that takes a lot of work. I think this is kind of too much of a task for him.
Wow. Okay. I mean, you've watched the anime, and have you also read the manga as well? Oh, I'm sorry, you cut out there. What you said?
me or Neil?
Oh, you. I was asking.
Oh, yes, I have. I've read.
Okay.
I'm up to date so far. Like this is a very tough character to kind of nail, but it's like I also don't know what you would do better, because it's like Luffy's also like he's meant to be. I think he was the same age as Luffy when he got cast because he's like
Yeah.
19. And it's just like I get like when you have that kind of level of youth, it's like it's very tough to kind of find that level of actor. And I think
To be
like-
fair, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's good.
To be fair, I was just saying that like I think a lot of anime adaptations have an issue with getting the casting and the acting right because a lot of like Japanese acting and writing is very different than a lot of like Western sensibilities. So like sometimes there's a discrepancy because of like the source material and how do you adapt that to different mediums and things like that.
Yeah, I think the best case scenario would be like you potentially found someone who was doing like theater every day for like the majority of their childhood, moving on to it's just like and then that's gonna be really tough to find. It's that level of like sellingness that's like like this is kind of like it's really tough to kind of nail. And like I don't want to like this is definitely one of the best options you could have found, but like at the same time, it's like I see all the screws. I just kind of want to go in and like tighten them to a degree. Just like
So, who do you think is the best at adapting the character from the manga?
in the main cast.
Well, just anybody in the show.
Oh, that'd be Buggy.
Okay.
That
He's-
actor nails it, especially the humor, the like levels of patheticness, and how it's like able to translate it, and like the weird look he has, and like the ego of like that actor. Great job,
Yeah. Jeff Ward, who does
Ward. Yeah,
who does it there. Yeah, he comes back. He was a character in the first season, and he comes back along with another character from the first season, who now she's eating like a devil fruit, so she has like a special ability there. So yeah, it's Alvida there, who's a pirate they fought against in the first season there. Okay, so you like him the best. Yeah, I mean, I also say that I mean, again, like I said, I haven't read the manga, and I've only as far as I got with the anime is I watched up till Ace. Spoiler alert, I guess, for people who haven't seen, but
spoiler for 10 years.
you know, is when he died. That's as furthest I ever got. Is when he gets killed. And then you have Miss Wednesday, and it's I mean, I guess I guess this is something I go with. It's not a huge thing with it, but I even asked you this because her whole storyline is that she like kind of infiltrates the group of the Baroque works there, who are like terrorizing her homeland. How they didn't know that she was the princess of the place that they're Terra, I guess. It's like, I mean, whatever.
She's working with the dummies of the group, but it's like the main people like Crocodile and like Miss Sunday, they figured it out pretty quickly. Just
okay. Yeah, so you got that. So I kind of wondered that a little bit of it. With that kind of aspect of it. And the actor Shatira Shadaran there, who she looks good. I mean, she really looks a beautiful woman there. Looks really good there with that. How did you like her?
envy that wig she has to wear. It's a lot of hair she gotta carry.
Yeah. How'd you like her job in the show there?
I think she did a pretty good job.
Okay. Yeah, she has to do something. So I'm excited to see, again, she's the only other person with actually kind of some more story kind of going on in it. That's kind of fun to watch. So it's kind of interesting to see her character there, in it there. Yeah. So I think I had a good time watching it. I think the show, I think it's better in the second half of it than it is the first half. I think it gets more emotional there with it, with the introduction of kind of Chopper there. And it's fun to see them, solve things with the power of friendship. You know what I mean, and everything. Like that. Power of friendship conquers all. Love and friendship there, and you kind of see that aspect of things. And I think the cast works well together. I think they got, like I said, great chemistry. I like how the anime embraces a lot of the crazy. I mean, the show embraces a lot of the craziness from the anime, and they go like I said, that guy. There's the one guy who's got guns in his hair. I mean, fuck,
Yeah.
why not? You know what I mean? Sure, if that's in there, we're gonna bring it, try to adapt it. And with that aspect there, the effects. I mean, again, that's always a thing with the show, like being so kind of big as it is. The effects always, that's kind of gonna maybe not always look the best. Always, there's some kind of things like that, like a big giant fish. The giants I thought looked really good though. I thought they would need to those look pretty good, but that's probably was done kind of a little bit maybe practically, where you just miniature and you had that, and then you kind of did that. So that's probably more done.
I think the stretching looks mostly solid.
Yeah, the stretcher looks kind of good too. I think that looks kind of good as well there. So that kind of works. So there's some effects that they do pretty well there that kind of figures it out there. Yeah, so I liked it. I would give it a good tune in there for it. What about you there, Mike?
I give it tune in too.
Okay. So okay, so you still give it a good tune in. Is that what you gave first season there as well? I think a tune in.
I think so. Yeah,
Okay. So would you keep coming back? Would you see a season 3? Would you want to?
maybe. I think like it wouldn't be something I'm like, oh, I need this, but it's like, oh, that's fun. This is like a fun thing to put on.
Mm.
It's
Would you
sometimes
watch-
it's fine. It being fun is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I think if you're expecting this to be as good as the like the manga's heist, it's not going to happen. But it's like you just know what you're getting into with this.
So what big moment are they planning to do next in season 3? What's there?
Probably Luffy's first like big fight with Crocodile. Yeah, I'm thinking like it will probably just be the Alabasta arc for the most part, because that is like a
Mhm.
really big arc, and that's like the whole like kind of the big kind of turning point versus. I am like if they'll go on after this, because it's just might be like, okay, we're done, because this is like kind of the limits of what you can do with the time frame, because like Alabasta's like it's not even like the start of the first like half before we get to this time skip. Just
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, they'll probably have to reconceptualize a lot of the story points moving forward, just to factor in time, budget, and how much Netflix is willing to like fund future seasons of this.
Are you gonna watch the kind of remake they're doing of the anime? Or
probably not.
okay, there's no
I'll
point.
probably
for you-
watch some moments, to be honest, but like just YouTube clips.
Yeah, just what they improve, like how they improve the fights or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of filler and fat on the anime.
Well, and plus it's like just from personal experience, having to say, "Oh, this show is 1,000 episodes long," is kind of intimidating for like newcomers to get into. To be honest,
So to tune in for One Piece season 2.